let's talk about folds in block diagrams. It can be a little confusing if you don't really think in 3D, but there's a few things I can do I think that will help. Okay, so on the left-hand side here on the front of this block diagram, so you have to think about it like we've just pulled this little chunk of earth out of the ground here. We have an anticline. And so these are just folded neatly, kind of flopped over like this. And so the way that we would approach this is we're going to assume this is not plunging. So plunging means that it's going to be tilted down. We're going to assume that if it was a book, that the spine of the book is just horizontal or parallel with the Earth's surface. And so what I would start doing is I would start over here and I would start to take this line that separates the blue from the white unit on the left, and I would just draw it parallel to that side line. And then I would do the same thing for the next one, parallel to the side line, same thing to the next one, same thing to the next one, and keep drawing those back. Okay, so now I can see that this is where my units are coming out. Like this blue one would come out here and then back down. So to make that a little easier to see, I'm going to color these in. All right, so now we see I have our blue unit that would pop up and back down, and then our green unit is just kind of right there in the center. Now we need to do this sidewall, and so you're again going to want to keep these lines parallel to the top and bottom line there. So I would draw that parallel to that. Oops, that didn't quite go high enough. Something like that, something like that, and something like that. And again, I'll color those in really quickly. All right, and so that's what it would look like. Now, if you needed to add strike and dip symbols, and I have videos on what those are, but we would say, okay, this is probably at a little over 45, so maybe 50 degrees. So here I would draw it, I'm gonna put it up here so you can see it better, a little symbol like this with a 50, because it's tilting out that way. This one over here, about 50 degrees also. So I would put it on the top of the map, but just so you can see it, I'm gonna draw it here, a little easier to see. All right, so that's what it's like if they give you the front of the diagram. If they give you the top of the diagram, then we have to try to fill in the front and the side. And so from here, I can see I've got several units. Oh, and I meant to color this one in so we know it's the same unit. Let's go across here. Normally they'll be lettered or numbered, something like that. And say, notice that the strike and dip symbols are pointing to the center. So instead of it being pointing outward like our anticline, it's toward the center. So it's going to be a syncline. And let's just pretend like this has a 40 on it, right? And so what I would do is I would come in here and I would measure 40 degrees down from here. So 45 is a halfway split between 0 and 90. And so I'm going to go 45 degrees down something, or 40 degrees down something like that. And I'm going to draw my line. Yep. And I would do the same thing over here until they met up, and I would make that little connection there. And then I would follow suit with the rest of these down here. And then that's all the information I have. I might infer there might be other units down here, so maybe I'll choose to draw those in. And then let me color in my blue one real quick. Okay, there we go. And then I would need to do is my sidewall. So again, my sidewall, I'd want to keep it parallel to this top and bottom line. So I'm going to draw that back, and I'm going to draw that back, something like that. Should be a little higher. There we go. And my blue unit doesn't even come out on the side there. But that's how you would do that with something where you were given the top instead of the front.